Hey guys, Chris Cookin' Nashville here. I'm really excited about this one today. So if any of you have watched my channel, you know that one of the people who I credit with giving me so much knowledge that has saved my life is Dr. Berry. Dr. Ken Berry and his wife Neisha are incredible people here in the carnivore and keto communities, and I honestly owe them more than I will ever be able to pay back. I asked them if this would be okay. I wanted to do a special recipe dedicated to Dr. Berry. I'm going to put all of his links in the description down below. If you don't know who he is, one, you're probably living under a rock in the keto and carnivore world, but two, you need to go check him out, follow him, and subscribe. And truthfully, you should go become a part of his community, his private community. I'm in there as well because I'm just trying to do everything I can to support the work that he's doing. It means so much to me. Because of everything that he's done, I wanted to say thank you, and the best way I thought that I could honor him was to do a recipe especially for him. And I've got my brother-in-law Tristan here. He's gonna be trying everything today. So Dr. Berry is very well known for the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs approach to carnivore. So I thought, well, why don't we see if we can get fancy with beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. So I'm gonna show you beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, the Dr. Berry special, 2 different ways today, just to show you that carnivore, even BBBE, doesn't have to be boring. Let me show you what we got. All right, so this is the first, maybe more simplified version, if you will, which I don't do anything simple, but I do think this is the more simple version. So these are tenderloin medallions, and you can cook them any way you want, but in the video you'll see I'm using fire. Then I have an egg yolk on top, there is a butter sauce, and there is some sliced bacon. So I'm gonna let Mr. Tristan enjoy.
Here we go.
And tell me what he thinks of the simple version of the BBBE Special.
I feel like this is one of those dishes that you have to approach differently because it looks so nice. So give me a moment. So today we are looking at what seems like a very refined dish. First of all, the char on that egg yolk. I'm excited. You know what? I'm just going to dig in before I tell you anything.
Do it.
Ooh, the way that that oozes, that looks great. Bacon in there. Oh, that's tender. Slurp it up. Yes. There's nothing but yes. It has that crispy crust on the outside. You got that softness from the yolk, that like creamy butteriness, but it has like that.
It's like smoky.
Like smoky, like
yeah.
If this is like I'm at a loss for words for what this is. This is.
Tristan's very happy.
I'm very happy. What this is. Best way I can describe it to you. You take everything good about a solid breakfast, put it into one bite. You're getting that creaminess from the egg yolk. You're getting that meaty fullness, that satiation. You're getting that smoky bacon, that little crust on it. This is one of those things that like you dream of, and then you get woken up by your alarm, and then unfortunately you didn't have enough time to make it. And you know, and so then you're like sad for the rest of the day. This is that thing that you dreamed about in the beginning. It's perfect in every way.
It's hard to beat a steak with egg yolk and bacon.
You see that color?
perfectly rare.
Zoom in on that. They're going to be dreaming about this tonight. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. This may be the best thing you've ever made.
Well, there we go.
10 out of 10.
There we go.
12 out of 10.
Well, obviously Tristan likes it. So let's take a look at the second version, and then I'll show you guys how to make both. All right, guys, so this is version number 2. Let's say the chef version.
Chefy version.
This is the fancy version. This is me flexing the kitchen skills a little bit for some fun. This is a roulade style tenderloin that has bacon around the inside. This is a blender hollandaise sauce over the top. If you guys would like to see how I do my blender hollandaise, put a comment down below. I'll be more than happy to show you if enough people are interested. So a blender hollandaise sauce, super simple. A couple of little bits of bacon. Now I put some black pepper over the top. The seasoning is optional. I know some people in BBBE don't do pepper or any other seasonings. That's fine. And I know Dr. Berry also loves his anchovies. So I actually took an anchovy fillet and I smashed it all up, turned it into a paste, just a hint of that across the bacon on the inside, just for a little umami. That again is totally optional, but I know Dr. Berry likes those wild little fish. So
they're nice.
I went ahead and threw that in there as a nod to him as well. Let's see what Tristan thinks of version number 2, the chefy BBBE Special.
All right, let's see. That hollandaise is creamy. Like a kid on Christmas. Oh, I see that bacon. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, that's it. That's the stuff. That anchovy, if you didn't say it, I probably wouldn't have guessed it. But now that you said it, it is smoky and buttery and soft. It's like that perfect balance between salty and just well seasoned. My favorite part about this tenderloin right now that you know is just the texture that it has. It is so soft it almost melts in your mouth.
Don't overcook your tenderloin, folks.
Don't overcook it. And then you have the hollandaise, the natural creaminess of the beef. And then you have that bacon, just that nice bacon fat to kind of give it that little bit of like texture. Here's a perfect bite. Don't ask me to choose which one I like more. These are both fantastic. It changes your life. It really does. And then you do something like this with it. You make it all chefy. I know. What did I give the last one? 10 out of 10? Or maybe 14 out of 8. That's what this one gets. This one gets 14 out of 8.
Well, there you go, guys. So Tristan loves the elevated, simpler version as well as the chefy version. Let me show you guys how we make them. All right, guys, I'm really excited. I have a whole beef tenderloin untrimmed here. I'm just going to take this out of the package and I'm going to lay it on some paper towel. Don't wash beef like this off with water because it'll just make it watery. I'm just going to pat this off with paper towels, get the excess moisture off of it, make sure it is nice and clean. And then I'm going to lay it here on my cutting board because we're going to trim the excess fat off of here. Now, whatever you do, don't throw this fat away as you're trimming it off. Just get these big hunks of fat off the outside. It's going to make your tenderloin so much nicer. And then you can take this beef fat and you can put it in your freezer. You can either cook it up and eat it, or you can grind it in with other beef, make hamburger, whatever it is you would like to do. But this is high quality fat. But I'm just going to go around, trim off all of this fat from the edges. I'm also going to get this large piece of silver skin, which is kind of tough and chewy. This is going to be ground up with the other fat as well. And then we're going to have a nice, clean tenderloin to work with. And once we do, I'm going to cut off this large forked end. This is what I'm going to cut into medallions to make the simpler version of the Dr. Berry BBBE Special. And then I'm going to trim off the two thinner ends here as well. These I actually cut up and made beef tartare with. That's another recipe video. I'm going to take this chateaubriand, which is the center part of the tenderloin, and I'm going to cut it into 5 steaks. This is going to be the chefy version roulade steaks. Now, once we have the steaks cut out of the chateaubriand, we are going to butterfly these open. So I'm holding my knife parallel to the cutting board, making smooth strokes and unrolling this a little at a time. So I'm cutting this about 1/4 of an inch thick and just unrolling the cut that I make and then making another cut and then pressing this out to make a flat steak strip, just like this. This is a little better angle on this side, you can see. You have to have a really sharp knife to make this work, but just unroll this very carefully. Make sure you don't cut all the way through, but unroll this to make a strip of steak. And once we have this done to all of our steaks, we can continue to make our roulade. One of the best things about these steaks being cut open is we can season the inside of them. So I'm going to sprinkle some salt over the top, and that way we have seasoning all the way through our steak. Season this just like you would any steak that you plan to eat, just normally salted. So I'm going to put a little black pepper on this. You don't have to use any seasonings. I know on BBBE, if you're being very strict, you won't, but it is totally optional. I'm just going to add some of that. And then this is something interesting. This is actually smashed up anchovy fillets. And then here's my strips of bacon. So I've cooked this bacon but left it soft. I'm going to lay 2 slices on the steak and I'm going to rub some smashed anchovy fillet across it. The anchovy is optional, but it adds a really nice umami flavor, and Dr. Berry loves those omega-3s in those small fatty fish. So it is a fantastic addition, but if you don't like it, just leave it out and put the bacon on the steak by itself. Once our steak is seasoned and the bacon is added, all we have to do is now start with one end and roll this up carefully. Now you want to roll this up tightly so that this does not fall apart when you go to cook it. Once it is rolled up, grab a wooden bamboo pick and stick that through the flap to hold this together into a roulade. Now we're going to do this with the other 4 and get these ready to go into the fridge. Once all 5 roulades are made, I'm going to put these on a cooling rack over top of a cookie sheet, and then I'm going to lightly season both sides. This is then going to go into the refrigerator, and it's going to dry brine. So the salt is going to soak into that steak, and the air is actually going to dry the outside of the steak a little bit in the refrigerator. This is a great way not only to make your steak better, but to do it ahead of time. And that way it's ready to go for you. So we're just going to slide that into the fridge, and we're going to be good to go. Now for the medallions, you can do this with any kind of steak, but I'm using some pieces of that tenderloin that I cut into medallions. I'm gonna pound these out and make these about 1/4 inch thick because I'm going to cook them with a flame torch. You can use any kind of steak you want, and you can use any method of cooking steak that you want so that you can do this without having to pay for tenderloin, but it is very nice with tenderloin. So I'm just gonna pound these out. I'm gonna add some salt, make sure they're seasoned the way that I like them, and these will also be ready to cook. So when it comes time to cook, I'm gonna use my flame torch, and I'm just going to cook these tenderloin medallions this way. Because they are so thin, I can do this on both sides, and this will be a nice blue rare steak on the inside. I love doing tenderloin blue rare because it is so tender and so flavorful that way. I'm just gonna do this on both sides, and then we'll finish up this particular version, and we'll show you how to plate it. To plate this, I'm gonna take an egg yolk, put it on top of the steak, and I'm gonna use my flame torch to char it just a little bit. If you don't have something like this, you could just use the egg yolk raw on here. The yolk is going to be raw in the center. I'm just adding some color to the outside of it, but it's gonna have the same flavor profile, and raw egg yolk on a steak is absolutely incredible. Just ask people in Japan. Then I'm gonna put a little piece of butter on here. I'm gonna get that starting to melt down so we have that nice butter egg combination. And the last thing we have to do is top this off with some chiffonade cut bacon. And now we're gonna make the roulade by starting off with a chunk of butter, maybe about a tablespoon, and I'm gonna spread that around a hot skillet. And you could use any kind of animal fat you want, beef tallow or whatever, but I'm using butter for that amazing browned flavor. And then I'm gonna take one of my roulades, I'm gonna sit that in the center, and I wanna hear it sizzle. And I'm gonna start moving that around and soaking that browned butter all over the bottom of that. That's gonna make that nice and crispy on a crust on the first side. Once this has been sitting for about 2 to 3 minutes, we can flip this over. You can see that beautiful brown crust, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Run it through that butter again. You can see that butter is starting to turn a dark brown. Now we don't want anything to burn, and this is a very thick steak being a roulade. So what I'm gonna do is get that seared on both sides and then add maybe about 1/4 cup of water. This is going to steam, and then I'm going to put a lid over top of this and let this steam with that butter in there. This is gonna take another 5 minutes or so to cook through. Cook it to the desired temperature the way you want it. But again, I like it nice and blue rare. And then this is a blender hollandaise. If you'd like to know how to make this, put a comment down below. I'd be more than happy to show you, but it's very simple, tastes amazing with steak. And we're gonna finish this off with a little bit of some chiffonade bacon and just that optional crack of black pepper.
All right, guys, that's how we do the Dr. Berry dedication BBBE Special. You've got the butter and the egg and the hollandaise on this one. You've got that butter and that egg yolk on the other version. Dr. Berry is a genius. He really is to understand the combination of beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, not only being so good for you as a health choice, but man, does it work in a recipe as well.
Does it work in a recipe?
Yes, we're very, very happy with these. And again, Dr. Berry and Neisha, thank you guys for everything that you do. This is the best way that I know how to do something special to honor you guys and
and to try to send some folks your way. Although most people who watch my channel, I imagine, probably know exactly who you are because you have impacted so many millions of people's lives in ways that you probably don't even know, including mine, in saving my life. And quite honestly, Chris Cooking Nashville is here very much thanks to Dr. Barry and Neisha. I have a bunch of links down below, but more importantly, I have a bunch of Dr. Barry's links down below. Please consider following him if you don't already, subscribing, going and joining his private community because he gives great information. And you can save your life with low carb, keto, and carnivore food and the knowledge that goes with it, just like I have. Thank you guys so much for watching. We love every single one of you. Dr. Barry and Neisha, thank you guys. We love you very, very much in the Delisle household, and we can't do what we do without you. This is Chris Cooking Nashville and my brother-in-law Tristan. Guys, eat your meat, especially as BBBE. Love your life, and we're gonna see you right here in the kitchen for the next recipe.
My butt up on that shirt.